When we think of experiencing pain, we think of damage to our body, cuts, bruises, or infections. In reality, pain is so much more deep than that. It has to do with the way our brains have evolved. The International Association for the Study of Pain defines pain as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with actual or potential tissue damage or described in terms of such damage. This definition was developed by clinicians and clinically oriented pain researchers. This definition is useful for human pain, excluding some major limits, including the exemption of cognitive and social aspects of pain. People regularly feel pain without having a physical injury on the body. We also have injuries that we don't even feel. Our evolution to pain starts with our primitive ancestors. Early neuroscientists assume pain to be a simple part of the body-to-brain signal, but in reality, it is much more deep than that. According to Edgar T. Walter and Amanda C. Williams, the evolution of mechanisms and behavior is important to understanding our human pain. Our understanding of the biology of pain is limited by our own ignorance about its evolution. Recent research finds pain to be more of a homeostatic emotion than a jabbed nerve. The study of pain, both acute and chronic, is very difficult for researchers to study. In order to study pain, we have to inflict damage. We understand that a feeling of pain arises when we detect nociception. This is a response to dangerous stimuli that makes us pull away or make sounds, for example. However, we have no way of directly communicating with an animal subject, for example, to explain in what ways they feel pain stimuli. We have to look at their reflexes, voluntary movements, and emotional changes. A major proponent of both animal testing and human testing is avoiding suffering to the participant. Suffering is when an animal or person experiences an extreme psychological or physical distress above their own personal thresholds. So, what do we know about studying pain itself? What do we know about the history of studying pain? In 1895, Max von Frey theorized the specificity theory of pain. This is the first example of pain theorization. This theory states that pain is its own sensory channel in the body that leads to the brain. In this theory, we have our own pain nerves, free nerve endings in the skin that would sense something harmful and then send signals along two types of tiny nerves, the fast A delta fibers and slow C fibers, to the brain. Those signals travel up the spinal cord through a pathway called the spinothalamic tract, and the thalamus in the brain helps relay that information to areas that make you feel pain. This theory is often contradicted because the idea of specialized pain receptors is too broad to account for every type of pain. How would a specialized nerve decide what qualifies as pain? How would it know which type of pain the body should feel? The next major theory to come up was pattern theory. While this theory has no single scientist to start it, the ideas were first conceptualized by Alfred Goldscheider and expanded upon by William Waddell and David Sinclair in the 1940s and 1950s. This theory explains that all skin receptors are the same in the way that they feel things. There are no dedicated pain receptors. Every nerve will respond to many types of stimulation. Pain and the feelings associated with it depend on the pattern and intensity of nerve firing signals. For example, low firing signals may feel like a gentle touch, while rapid and intense firing signals are what we associate with the feeling of pain. The timing and intensity combined would be what causes different sensations. Gait theory by Melzack and Wall in 1965 revolutionized the study of pain as a field. This theory stated that pain is modulated. Pain can be increased or decreased before you even feel it. Our brains have an active part expressing how much pain actually gets through. We experience three types of stimuli that can activate pain receptors: mechanical, which we feel as a pressure or a pinch, heat, and chemical. Within the dorsal horn of our spinal cords, there is a network of neurons that act like a gate for these incoming signals. Transmission, or T cells, are located within this dorsal horn. They are responsible for determining how much of pain the brain feels. Small fibers, such as the A delta fibers and C fibers, carry slow or fast nociceptive signals. When they open the gate, they increase the pain we feel. A beta fibers are large fibers that are used for touch and pressure input. These carry non-painful touch signal. These are responsible for closing the gate or reducing how much pain is felt. The touch fibers activate the inhibitory gate and help dull the pain. That's why pressure and rubbing a wound helps lessen the pain that we feel. Recently, Bud Craig has challenged the ideas of past theories. He used single-unit electrophysiology and tract tracing tools to determine that pain is much less of a type of touch, but rather a homeostatic emotion, much like touch, itch, or temperature. A delta fibers and C fibers inside the tissue travel up lamina 1 and NTS pathways. These signals travel up to two main brain locations, the insula, which helps to feel what is happening inside the body, and the ACC, which creates the urge to react to sensations. This means that pain is both a sensory experience but also a motivational state. The body will feel pain when it's outside of its normal limits. The brain lets us know that something is wrong or that the sensation needs immediate attention. The work within the insula goes to help support the idea of homeostasis. Anterior insula activation goes hand in hand with subjective feelings in the body, according to Craig. This helps to build a sense of self or a feeling of living within the body. Pain, in this instance, goes beyond the feeling of ouch and becomes more of a conscious feeling of the body's own status. Pain in and of itself has ancient roots in biology. Pain is present within creatures such as fish, crustaceans, insects, and mollusks. One definition of pain that applies to both animals and humans comes from Zimmerman in 1986. It says that pain is aversive, but also protects us and teaches us how to avoid it in the future. Even within species that are extinct, we can see evidence of pain. Hearn and Williams produced pain in dinosaurs. What is the evidence? That shows dinosaurs themselves contain nociceptive systems that we can compare to modern vertebrates. Deep within the evolutionary timeline, we are able to see that pain has existed. Long-term sensitization is the idea that exposure to a specific stimuli over time will teach you how to properly respond. In humans, we may hold our hand over a hot surface and know it is hot. We probably learned this when we were very young, and our parents said not to touch the stove. But it is hot, and our brains have never experienced that sensation, so we don't know what heat feels like. Invertebrates, such as sea slugs and fruit flies, exhibit these behaviors as well. This can lead to hyperexcitability. Hyperexcitability is the idea that our neurons are more likely to fire based on personal experience. So after experiencing the heat, anytime we are around the sensation of heat, we know we are more likely to be cautious and keep ourselves away from it. One of the modern theories as to why people feel pain more now than in the past, despite having access to modern medicine and more knowledgeable people, is mismatch theory. The theory stems from the idea that we as people actually mismatch our environment. A few examples of this would be women having more pelvic pain because now that we live longer, healthier lives, the uterus will go through more menstruation cycles. In this theory, one of the reasons people experience lower back pain is because we are sitting for a majority of the day. Sedentary life as a whole is the reason we experience many more aches and pains after a physically demanding day than we had in past. Much of the research into pain finds that pain stems from hominids being such a social species. Finlay's pain of altruism hypothesis suggests that humans evolved feeling unusually intense pain because we live in a highly cooperative species. This starts in childhood. When a baby cries, adults in the room rush to check and make sure that it's not hurt. When we become injured, we vocalize or show pain signals such as bleeding or holding a body part as a way to elicit help. By experiencing pain to this high of a degree, we increase our chances of survival. Another person will be able to call for help or emergency services. The main argument Finlay uses is human labor pains. Compared to our primate relatives, humans show signs of much more intense and painful labor. This outward reaction to labor signals to others to get this person to an obstetrician. Job specialization in this case allows for lower maternal and infant mortality rates. Social expectation not only shows what we need to help with, but also determines how much pain we actually feel. Animals and humans alike will evaluate the risk of expressing pain signals. In a situation where it is risky or dominant social groups are around, both groups will choose not to outwardly express pain. People will also show less pain signals in a situation where care is much closer. In a hospital, where people can hit the call light rather than crying out for help, are more likely to just let pain signals show less. Pain is a reminder to the body that it is not in a typical homeostatic state. The research of pain in neuroscience has much room to grow. We need a more in-depth analysis on the origin of feeling pain in hominids. In the 1950s, not but 70 years ago, we gave lobotomies to people feeling chronic pain. As of today, people experiencing chronic pain are still denied proper clinical care. They are labeled drug seekers or told they are having anxiety attacks. Combinations of psychosocial and physiological changes go into the experience we have. While the changes themselves are unknown, we have been able to notice that the brain changes after years of chronic pain. Research into these areas is crucial to understand how to help each other. Pain is not a simple warning signal, but a deeply evolved, highly flexible system that helps organisms survive. From the earliest invertebrates to dinosaurs to humans, pain has served as a protective tool, shaping our behavior, guiding learning, and keeping our bodies within a safe physiological range. Modern neuroscience shows that pain is created by the brain using inputs from the body, context, memory, and social environment, meaning that we are never just feeling nerve damage. As we trace pain across evolution, physiology, and social life, one lesson becomes clear. Pain is real, but it is also adaptable. And understanding how it works gives us more ways to treat it, reinterpret it, and eventually live better with it.